Okay, hello Lumen Cresty students. Today's lesson we're going to look at the relationship between transport networks and urban regions, and we're going to use Google Maps today to learn about this link. Today we're focusing on Sydney, and you can see where my cursor is here, just trying to highlight where Sydney is. We can also see that we have a red shaded area with a sort of a darker red boundary. This shows the extent of Sydney's urban region, okay? And we can see that there are parts of the urban region that sort of spread out like fingers extending out from the central business district of Sydney. And if I scroll or drag this from the north, you can see that they also go out in the north direction over here into the northwest and north along the coast. So what is the link between transport networks and Sydney's urban future? Well, I'm going to switch across to my maps, Google Maps here, and we'll draw a few lines in so that we can identify where these locations are. And these yellow lines are the major transport routes for Sydney. So we're talking about motorways. Okay, the M5 can be seen here. The M2, you'll sometimes hear these on the news. Here's the M7 that links up the M5 to the M2. And you've got the M4 that leads out of town. So I'm just going to quickly draw in some of these routes. Okay. There we go. Just double tap that. So there's our first one. You can also go from the city all the way out through to the west and out into Katoomba or the Blue Mountains. Okay. However, you'll notice that on our map we can see that it's National Park here, not an urban area. So it actually stops at around Penrith. You can also go to the north. So here's Sydney. Head out this way and head up and go north towards Gosford there. Okay. You can also head in this direction. Go along the highway here. What is it? The M2. Head north and all the way up to here. You can also go to Richmond, which is just there. And you can see that these are the major arterial networks that head out of Sydney. And I'll leave this map and just go back to our first map here. Our first map here. And you can see that we've got these lines that represent those major arterial routes. So again, here's the M4, here's the M5, the M7, up here the M2. Okay. You will note that the outer edges of Sydney's urban region follow some of these major roads that head out of Sydney. Okay. If you keep going along here, you end up at the Blue Mountains, and you can head south. You'll end up down here at Campbelltown. Now, what I wanted to show you was the train network also that leads out of Sydney. So I'll just tap on here and we'll get our transit system up. We should see some lines appear as we layer up. That's the orange lines here. Well, they're almost red, aren't they? But I want you to note the similarity in terms of the link between the road networks and urbanisation and the railway network and urbanisation. And you'll notice that there is a great similarity. Okay. So where the major arterial routes are heading out of Sydney, we also see the major railway lines heading out of Sydney. And New South Wales government legislation and planning, in terms of their policies, what they want is for development to occur along those major routes. And we're seeing evidence when we look at this here. Okay, now in a moment I'm going to switch across to the satellite view where we can actually see the housing. See that link more clearly. Okay, heading to the north, in terms of limitations, okay, as to where urban development can occur, you can see that this whole area in here is urbanised. Up here is urbanised right along the coastline. And you can see that you can't really go further north because you've got National Park. You can't really go much further south because you've got Royal National Park. And you can't go inland because you've got the Blue Mountains National Park. So future urbanisation does have some limitations around Sydney. So in some cases it's the topography, so the mountain ranges. In other cases it's the ocean that acts as a border or a barrier. All right, let's switch over to our satellite image. We'll be able to see the major, the orange here is the major railway networks. You can see that this one heads all the way down. It continues to Mittagong. So you can actually live in Mittagong and catch the train into the city. Okay. But the edge of the urban area is in Campbelltown. So I'm going to zoom in to Campbelltown. Okay. And you can see here's that railway line. Notice how the urbanisation is occurring along that railway line. So along here you've got stops. And part of New South Wales policy is that urbanisation or future growth is to occur along these major railway lines, because what they want is for you and I to be buying properties in these areas and using the train to get into town, making it more efficient in terms of energy use, reducing emissions, and just general city design. We'll follow another railway line out of the city. So I'll zoom out again. We'll see if the pattern exists. So let's head out towards Blacktown, Penrith. And you can see that right along this route here, we've got urbanisation occurring on either side until we get to the National Park. Okay, and that becomes the end of the urban fringe. Okay. To the north, I'll drag this down. Same deal. Okay. You notice that we do come into a bit more countryside. So I believe this is the area somewhere out here where the new railway, the new airport's going to be built. Okay, so that's going to be interesting. And the further we get out of town, the less urbanisation that takes place. You will note that there is a definite link between these transport networks and where urbanisation takes place. This is repeated in other cities around Australia, but also around the world. So there's the pattern. We showed a clear link, and now it's your turn to find out about the link in another city between urban transit networks and urbanisation. Good luck.